All right, guys. So we've been learning about the parts of the algebraic system, right? Terms and operations involving terms. Today what we're going to do is we're going to look at another basic skill that you need, and that is substitution. So think about what it means to substitute. Substitute means simply replace something with what? Something else. Yeah? Okay? So for example, we don't use relief teachers. We say we have a substitute teacher. So somebody who stands in for your normal teacher when they're not there, right? So what you're doing is replacing something with some other value. And in algebra, what that means is that you're going to be replacing the variables with some known quantity, usually a number. Okay? So let's talk about the steps for substituting. You are not. So to substitute, first, okay, define what you are substituting. In other words, you don't just jump in and start plugging numbers in places of letters where they don't belong. If it says A is 5, then A is 5, not B or C or any other letter, right? Now, could B be 5 as well?
Yes.
Yes, but you use the letter that use the value they give you. Okay? So always start there. Be careful. Make a list, write it out, circle it, do something to make sure you know which piece is going where. Okay? Replace the appropriate variable with the correct value. The most common mistake I see with this, because this is not difficult to do, it's the substitution part, but is putting the wrong thing in the wrong place. So be careful. If there are a lot of variables, it's easy to get them mixed up. You've got to slow yourself down enough because you just want to throw things in there. So be careful. And also, there is a little known rule of mathematics that most students do not know, and it's not emphasized enough. But I am going to emphasize it, and you are going to do it, or else.
Or else what?
You'll get it wrong. Because you'll get it wrong. Okay? You must use not parentheses. I forgot you don't call them that.
Brackets.
Use brackets. Okay? Now let me explain that. In mathematics, you are not allowed to replace a letter with a number or any other value without putting it in a bracket. Because what happens is, if you do, you can change the operation. And I'll show you what I mean by that. If you don't use brackets, you can literally change multiplication into addition or some other operation into some other operation. And I'll show you what I mean when we start looking at these. Now, there are times when the brackets are not necessary, but you need to learn when that is. And I'll point that out to you as we go. All right? But as a general rule, you never replace a letter with a number without putting it in a what? Bracket.
Parentheses.
Okay? I love
Why
parentheses.
parentheses? It's actually kind of
This is what we call it in the States. All right, parentheses.
Okay.
Brackets, okay? So everybody's going to show you. So I'm going to show you what'll happen. Then, after you've done that, you will simplify. Now remember that simplify, we talked about this when we did the number section. Simplify is that all-encompassing word which means do the math. And when you do the math, you always have to remember order of what? Operations. So anytime you see the word simplify, what it really means is to apply the order of operations. Okay?
Also known as OOO.
Okay. Good mass, bad mass, whichever one you like. Okay?
Ooh.
PEMDAS.
Order of operations. Ooh.
Okay? And that's all there is to it. And what happens is, if you don't have any variables and all you have is numbers, then you no longer have algebra, you have arithmetic, which arithmetic,
I tried, okay?
okay? And arithmetic, you can do the math, right? There's nothing, you can do all the multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, everything. You can put it all together and you're going to get one number as your answer.
Yeah.
Yeah? When you have an arithmetic problem, can you simplify it to one number? Yes, always. Okay? All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the lesson, but keep in mind that this is what we're doing. So that's all you have to do is just replace the numbers with the letters with the numbers, but use a bracket. Now, they were not always going to use a bracket when we're looking at Education Perfect, and I'm going to tell you why.
Stupid.
Okay? They take shortcuts, and it's harmful sometimes. Yes? So, it's falling apart.
Wow.
So twist it around. Okay? Are we ready? Let's go to this lesson.
Is anyone ever ready?
Come on, guys.
Can I please use your stapler?
In the previous lesson, it's out of staples. In a previous lesson, we learned how to simplify algebraic expression, and we also learned some definitions. So now we're going to learn how to look at solving some problems using substitution to evaluate.
Can we try and do the Education Perfect during class?
Okay? If we have time, yes. Let's say we have the following problem. A plumber charges $70 an hour and a call-out fee of $40.
What?
We want to set up an equation for the plumber's fee that depends on the number of hours he spends on the job. Don't worry about this. They're going to give you the equation. Let's just chill for a minute. We know that this will be the easiest if we assign variables, unknowns, right? For the unknown parts. So let's use the variable h to represent hours because he charges so much per hour and we don't know how many hours he's going to take on the job, right? So we're using the variable h to represent the hours. We're told that the plumber charges $70 an hour. So for hours, it's $70 times h. In other words, $70 times the number of hours that he spends, yeah? Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. We're also told that he charges $40 just flat fee just to come to your house, right? So each job will also have $40 added to it. So does the $40 depend on how long he stays? No. The $40 is a flat fee, so just $40. So the total cost for any job that it takes h hours will be cost equals $70 times h. Do you have to write that multiplication symbol in there?
No.
I could just rewrite that as what? 70h. Good job. Plus 40. Now they put the units in. You don't have to, but when you get your answer, do you have to put the units in?
Yes.
Absolutely.
I'm reading the newspaper.
So now what we can do is, to figure out the total cost, guys, we need to substitute h equals 5 into our equation because in this particular instance, they spend 5 hours on the job. Okay? So that we're going to replace the h with what number? 5. And then simply do the math. Too easy. Okay? So here you go. Oh, they did use the parentheses. I'm so proud of them. So, in place of h, they put 5. Okay? We do the multiplication first. Right, so we wouldn't need it then. So 70 times 5 is what? 350 plus the 40 is 390. So in other words, if he's there for 5 hours, it's going to cost you $390. Yes.
No.
So if I were going to write this, I wouldn't write it like this. What I would do is it's 70h plus 40, which means I would take 70 and put the 5 in plus 40. You don't need the multiplication symbol there because what does the number in front of a bracket always mean? It's the coefficient, so multiplier, right? So there you go. Okay? So algebra is all about not writing something if we don't have to. Okay? It's always very simplified.
Multiplication symbol just really wants to help.
Okay? All right. So let's look at a few more examples. Here we go. We have our expression 2x minus 1, and we want to evaluate it. The word evaluate. Okay, you're going to see this word a lot. Evaluate means substitution. Right? They're the same thing. It's written right there. I won't rewrite it. Okay? And evaluate simply means find a value for it. Okay? So all we need to do is simply plug in the number they give us in place of the letter. So in place of the x, in this case, in place of the x, I'm going to put what number?
3.
And I never replace a letter with a number without putting it in a bracket or parentheses. There you go.
Wait, so we wouldn't be allowed to write 2 times 3 minus 1?
Well, it's just neater if you do the bracket. So get used to using the bracket. Okay?
I've got a question.
Yes?
So, you know when you said you have to use the brackets sometimes and sometimes you don't really need them?
And I'll show you why.
Is it
Okay.
because, like,
If the x was all by itself. I'll show you. Okay, now let's do the math. We have to deal with the bracket first, and we know there's going to be a bracket. Why? Because we put it there.
substitute?
Yeah.
So 2 times 3 is what?
6.
6 minus 1 is what?
5.
So your completed answer is simply 5.
Correct.
Substitution, one of the easiest things you're going to do, but one of the most critical skills. Okay? Remember I said that almost always you need the brackets. Here's one where you don't, and let me show you why. Watch. If we put 7 into place of the p, now I can still use a bracket always, and it's never wrong. But is there anything I can do with the bracket? Is there anything multiplied times that bracket or anything? No. So in this case, there's really no reason for the bracket to be there. And how we know that is because it's just a plain old p all by itself. Now, what if I had 2p plus 8? Would I need the bracket then?
Yes.
Yes. So do you see the difference?
Yeah.
All right. So x minus 2. Do I need the bracket if I put a number in place of the x? No. 3x minus 5. Do I need the bracket? Yes. So do you see the difference? Okay. Yes.
So what if you have the exponent? So you just do the exponent math and then put it in the bracket?
If it has anything else, so like if it was x squared plus 3, do I need the bracket?
No.
Yes. Because this x isn't completely by itself, is it? It's got an exponent.
So you put 7 in brackets.
Not if it was negative 7 squared, it's not. You need the bracket. Okay? Just trust me, if it's got anything else with it, a coefficient, an exponent, anything else, you must use the bracket.
What about
That's kind of
sine? But all of them have sine.
Right. Well, and we'll look at. Okay. All right?
What's the answer?
Okay? So, yes. Okay? So, what we're going to do is I'm going to make this assignment and we're going to work on that
Okay.
and have this quite easy Friday, eh?